In 2022, there were over 13,000 medically assisted deaths in Canada. You might be thinking, is that too many medically assisted deaths? Hey everyone, my name is Eric Matheson. I'm a philosopher and clinical ethicist based in Toronto, Canada. When people say that the number of assisted deaths is too high, they'll often give this statistic and say things like it's disturbing or just that it seems bad. But a statistic on its own is not an argument. So let's dig a little bit deeper to figure out how many assisted deaths there should be. To figure out how many assisted deaths there should be, we should start by figuring out what kind of thing an assisted death is. So here's an analogy. Suppose that there's somebody named Michelle, and Michelle is in her 70s, she's living her life, is doing fine, and then she has a heart attack. This is clearly bad for Michelle. Heart attacks are bad. There's not kind of any uncertainty about that. And if we knew that the number of heart attacks was going up, we should easily conclude that that is a bad thing. But now consider Dylan. Dylan's in his mid-30s, and he decides to have a vasectomy so that he can no longer get his partner pregnant. If we ask the same question, is Dylan's vasectomy good or bad for Dylan? And if we knew that the number of vasectomies was going up, what should we conclude about that? As it happens, Canada has one of the highest vasectomy rates in the world. But vasectomy is not like heart attacks. Vasectomies, I think, are neutral. It's good if people get them, if they want them, but it's doesn't really, I don't think we can conclude much about whether it's good or bad overall. Not everyone will think this. Some people, namely the Catholic Church, they think that vasectomies are bad because they think that any form of birth control is bad. So if you're the Catholic Church, you'll say that the number of vasectomies should be 0. But if you're not against birth control, and you shouldn't be, then what the correct number of vasectomies should be is not really a question that makes much sense. If we say, how many vasectomies should there be? I think the correct answer is, it depends, or that's not really the right question. There are obviously differences between vasectomy and assisted dying, but I think when it comes to the how many should there be question, I think the answer is the same. There is really no fact of the matter about what the right number is. If somebody wants to have an assisted death and they meet the criteria, I don't think that there's anything ethically wrong with that. Similarly, if somebody wants to have a vasectomy and they can, they meet the criteria for vasectomy, then I don't think there's anything ethically wrong with that. There can be bad forms of assisted dying and vasectomy, just like there can be bad forms of any kind of healthcare. If somebody gets pressured or coerced into something, then that's bad, and we should prevent that from happening. But the raw numbers about the number of assisted deaths or the number of vasectomies does not tell us anything about whether there's good or bad stuff going on. So I don't think the raw numbers can tell us very much, or that we can read into whether it's good or bad. People who say the number of assisted death is disturbingly high, they're either already making the assumption that all assisted death is bad, which I don't think is justified, or they are thinking that that number on its own leads to some other conclusion, that it must be evidence of something sinister. But once again, I don't think that's justified. Could just be that people are finding out about it and accessing it. One point that people sometimes bring up is what they call contagion. So this is an obviously biased word, but the idea is that it seems bad that the number is going up so fast. Maybe what it indicates is that people are finding out about assisted dying, they hear about other people doing it, and then that leads them to do it too. But I think, once again, if we compare assisted dying to vasectomy, we see that this isn't really the problem that people think it is. If we knew that the rate of vasectomy was going up, then would it be appropriate to call that vasectomy contagion? No, calling it contagion does not really make sense unless you think that there's a problem with vasectomy. So if you think that there's a problem with assisted dying, then no matter what the number is, you're going to think it's too high. But the fact that the number is going up for either vasectomy or medical assistance in dying is, once again, not really evidence of anything. Calling it contagion is just misleading. So there is really no fact of the matter about how many assisted deaths there should be. The right sorts of questions are, how many people qualify for assisted dying and how many people want to have an assisted death? After that, whatever the number is does not really matter. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.